Hey guys, today I'm bringing you a deck profile from the OTS Championship that I played yesterday in Newport. I came first. I played Sky Striker, so I played 3 copies of Ray, 2 copies of Rose, 2 copies of Fua, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and 1 Ghost Bell. I didn't really want to be on too many monsters. I was a bit hesitant about running the Mulchami Fualas, and they didn't really come up much, so you could probably cut them. Ash, I think, is just necessary to deal with your opponent's Mulchamis. Ghost Bell also helps in the Drake Tail matchup a lot. The reason I'm on 2 rows is because my personal experience testing online, there would just be too many times where I'm opening up my single copy of Rose and then I'm unfortunately not able to use Zero's effect to tag out, which is rather annoying. But you could probably cut it down to 1, but I think 2 is fine. And that's all the monsters that were in. So then for the spells, I was on 3 copies of Engage, 3 copies of Linkage, 3 copies of Widow Anchor, 2 copies of Lemniscate, 1 Shark Cannon, 1 Eagle Booster, 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Afterburners. I'm really happy with this lineup. Obviously, you want to run 3 Engage, best spell in the whole game, best spell ever printed. Linkage, again, obvious 3 of, it's great, helps you dodge some interruptions that your opponent might do. Widow Anchor, brilliant. It's going to be even better after the structure deck gets released because it's been delayed here in the UK, which is rather annoying. So I didn't have it for the OTS Championship, but it should be good when it comes out. And then I'm on 2 copies of Lemniscate because I was originally on just the 1, but the Banish to Quick Link came up too often, and I needed the Lemniscate to help with the grind game by shuffling back all my things. So I think 2 is definitely the optimal choice. The 1 copy of Shark Cannon really came in handy. It was just very helpful to snipe things out of my opponent's graveyard. Like I had a matchup against Yummy Fiendsmith, and sniping the Snatchy out of grave was a pretty big decider in one of the games. The one of Eagle Booster it's a choice. You could probably cut it, but I think it's also quite useful, again, for like trying to play around your opponent's interrupts. Like if you summon 0 and then they try and negate it with like an Imperm or a Veiler or some other negation, you can use Eagle Booster to still get your search, which is very, very helpful. The Hornet Drones is just an easy extra starter, but you could probably cut it or change it out. I've been messing about with a copy of Vector Blast online, so don't take my word for it, but it's quite helpful. I might just be biased though because I have an Orcus player at my locals. And then the one of Afterburners came in so clutch many times yesterday. It was just helpful being able to remove a body and then also being able to remove a spell. And that was it for the Sky Striker spell card lineup. And then for the more generic spell cards, I've got 3 Radiant Typhoon Vision because trade-in is just incredibly helpful. Although, what was annoying was 2 times yesterday I had all 3 of them in my hand. One of them I used Radiant Typhoon Visions to draw 2, and then I drew into the other 2. And then the other one, I opened 2 of them, used the effect to draw 2, and drew into the 3rd one. So when it likes you, it's a very helpful card. But I don't know, yesterday wasn't really my biggest fan. But it's very helpful, and especially seeing as it's a quick play, so you can use it in the draw phase, play around draw, which I think you should be definitely doing, because even though it's at 2, it is still very prominent. Then I'm on 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets and 2 copies of Fallen and the Virtuous. They are just phenomenal board breakers, and are also excellent ways to dodge your opponent's interruptions. Definitely came up. My only loss yesterday was to White Forest, and I was able to get the drop off in the final game, but unfortunately they had spell trap negate, and that's essentially just what the game came down to, unfortunately. But stuff happens. But no, the droplets was very, very helpful yesterday, and the Fallen of the Virtuous just helps you with the grind game that little bit extra. I'm only on 2 copies though. I don't necessarily think you need a third, and I also don't think there's necessarily space in the extra deck to run the 3rd copy. And then 1 copy of Call By, 1 copy of MST, 3 copies of Upstart, 1 Rota, and 1 Triple Tack. Called By came in clutch whenever I saw it. Again, I think in one of my Yummy Fiendsmith matches, I sniped either their Engraver or their Snatchy out the graveyard, and it just helped so much. I also had a Mitsurugi matchup, which sniping some of their stuff out the grave with Called By was very helpful. MST, I was not sad to see it at all whenever I drew it. It helped me take care of field spells. It helped me take care of just miscellaneous back row, even the opponent's Fallen the Virtuous in some cases. Upstart Goblin, I think, is just non-negotiable for Sky Striker. It essentially just allows you to play 3 blank cards in your deck. So if you're on 40, you're essentially playing a 37 card deck. This deck comes to a total of 41, so it's only a 38 card deck, but I think that Upstart is definitely a must. And then the one of Rota is self-explanatory. You just search Ray and you get a spell in the grave at the same time. It's great. And Triple Tack is just, again, an excellent way to play through Interruption and get another spell in the graveyard. That's it for the main deck. We're at 41. Onto the extra deck. We have 1 copy of Azalea Temperance, 2 copies of Zero, 1 copy of Azalea, 1 copy of Zeke, 3 Kagari, 2 Shizuku, 2 Hayate, 1 Kaina, and then an Albion and a Dogma. The Dogma I would ideally like to switch out for another Albion, but I just don't have one, so I just stuck the first branded fusion that I saw into my extra deck. 2-0, I think 2 is correct. I don't necessarily think 3 is correct, especially after the structure deck. At the moment, maybe 3 is better, but after the structure deck, I think that 2 is correct, and you remove the Temperance. Azalea and Zeke, both kind of just tech cards. They come up, but they aren't always going to be useful. Kagari is just phenomenal, helps you with the grind game, and is also your big beater. So I think Kagari is definitely a 3 of. Shizuku is a 2. I think it still stays at 2 after the structure deck, but it's very helpful for adding, for instance, linkage in the end phase, so you can have follow-up. Well, no. It's helpful for adding linkage if you haven't already summoned 0 that turn. So I don't know, say you only open Rose, you normal summon Rose, link into Shizuku, and then end phase, add linkage summon 0, and then you at least have 0 on summon to search, and then you have the 0 interruption in your opponent's turn, and you have the follow-up of the presumably engage that you add off of 0. Hayate is at 2. It's definitely being put down to 1 after the structure deck. Traded out for the new Link 1. And then 1 copy of Kaina. It never came up. I think it's definitely cuttable. After the structure deck, I would cut it for a copy of Camellia. At the moment, you could even maybe argue that you cut it for a copy of Shizuku. But I think it's a fairly standard extra deck. Did me very well. And then onto the side deck, I have 1 copy of Hamp, 3 copies of Lancia, 2 Perulia, and then I have a suite of extra deck monsters for Ultimate Slayer. And then I have 2 Lightning Storm and 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. The Ultimate Slayer was mainly just in case I came across a deck that I couldn't really handle. Like, for instance, the Perfume Dancer is in here for the Lunalight matchup, which there was a Lunalight player yesterday. I was fortunate enough I didn't have to play against them. The Malong was in there essentially just for any synchro decks like White Forest, but I unfortunately did not see the Ultimate Slayer when they had a synchro on board, and it was one of the cards I bricked on in the final game of that matchup, unfortunately. Aggregator is just for any random person that's playing on a Mount Raziel or the like. The one of Hamp is also to deal with the Lunalight matchup. I think that's probably one of the scariest matchups. The Lancia I'm running for any people still on Malice, and also anybody that's on Orcust. I might be slightly biased because, again, there is an Orcust player at my locals, so I kind of just have to have that in there at all times. And it was very helpful. I didn't get to use it yesterday, so essentially you could just change that out, but I think that Malice is still viable somehow after being hit many, many, many times. The Mulchami Perulia are in there for the Radiant Typhoon match, and to a degree the Branded Draco Tail. It's not the best into the Branded Draco Tail, but they still summon a couple times from hand. But it's mainly in there for the Radiant Typhoon matchup, which is I would say it's maybe about a 50-50 as to which deck wins in the Sky Striker Radiant Typhoon match. I think the Sky Striker player has to know what they're doing to beat Radiant Typhoon. Otherwise, I think Radiant Typhoon is the better deck of the two. And then the Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster. It's just generic spell trap removal for your games against Radiant Typhoon, against Branded, against even down to Elf Note. Elf Note has quite a few spell traps on their infield. So I think that those are kind of a must at the moment. But to give a brief overview of what my matches were yesterday, I played against Pure Mitsurugi in round 1. Then in round 2 I played the guy's brother, and he was on Branded Draco Tail. I won both of those. Round 3 I think I played against Yummy Fiendsmith. That was definitely the toughest game I had all day. It was very, very, very close, and unfortunately the guy misplayed in the end, which cost him the match, but things happen, unfortunately. My round 4 was against Radiant Typhoon. Again, very, very sweaty match, but we both got very lucky. I happened to draw the Lemnis Gate, which allowed me to remove his Gossip Shadow, and he got lucky, and Great Fly and Gossip Shadow were the only 2 things left in his extra deck after going through multiple pot of extras. So the third game of that match came down to a bit of luck, but other than that, that was also a very tough matchup. And then in round 5, I played against White Forest as Amina, and unfortunately I lost that one. Game 1 and Game 2, it was just clear deciding who won. And then Game 3, I opened, I think, the Harpy's Feather Duster and a copy of Lightning Storm, and then I drew into the other copy of Lightning Storm. So I bricked, but they also bricked. So we passed back and forth a few times trying to draw, and fortunately they just drew into Engine first, and I was left with an Ultimate Slayer and a Triple Tactic Talents in my hand, so there wasn't much I could do, unfortunately. But I still won, because my tiebreakers were better, luckily, and I got this gorgeous playmat. It's one of my favourites. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.